Alright, today let's take a quick look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Magic the Gathering Spider-Man wave. And I know what I said. I think I'm only going to pick up Man-Wolf. Then my son said he was building the Magic Spider-Man deck and needed Agent Anti-Venom, so I thought, I'll get the figure, he gets the card. But then the more I looked at Battle Damage Spider-Man, I thought, well, I don't have one. It'd be nice for pictures every now and then, maybe. And that just left Iron Spider Mary Jane Watson, who I found at Titans Toy Expo at the Ginger Kid booth. I thought, no shipping, it's right here in front of me. Might as well. And that is how you display no willpower whatsoever. Oh, you can't help it sometimes. Looking at the packages, of course, there's the windows showing the figures through, and then there's some recognizable things if you're a Marvel Legends collector, you know, like the Marvel Legends logo or Spider-Man logo. But then if you're not into Magic the Gathering, it's kind of oddball seeing the cards off to the side, making the boxes bigger and the prices higher. I will say the artwork on the side is pretty damn nice. They all have the same back, just showing some pretty promos of each character in the wave. And then, of course, warning, small parts. Don't put cardboard in your mouth. Or plastic. Yeah. On the other side, the artwork again, just smaller, because they have to fit the names, the window, the Marvel Legends logo on here again. On the top, logos again. On bottom, there's your legalese, your barcodes. Let's start off with Agent Anti-Venom, since we essentially already have this figure in a different color. Here's a close-up of the card in case you're into Magic and wanted to see that. But I'm into toys, and this is what I wanted to see. And for something I was going to originally pass on, as I always say, I love a good black and white Spider Family costume. This one just happens to be a lot more bright white. And then getting up close, the black isn't quite black. It's a dark gray, which threw me at first. Because again, black and white on a spider character is absolutely perfect. But I'm liking how this kind of softens things. It almost prepares your eyes for the white. It's not just... There's also a lighter gray for the belt and these lines, but then a little silver for the buckle and the buttons on the pouches. Love it. And they even painted the silver on the buckles, on the leg straps, on the back, behind the holster, and then around on front on the inner thighs with those buckles. There's a dark patch on the back of the hands, and then of course the spider logo running around the shoulder pads, down the leg and around, and around the eyes. I was about to say that's the only paint, but of course you got to define the eyes. Otherwise, it's white plastic and the same sculpt as Agent Venom. I have the spiky rough shoulder pads, the same design down at the leg guards on the shin below the knee, the stripes running on the outer thighs and the biceps, those pouches on the belt, buckle, where we did get silver there, but not on those buttons. Oh, you kind of edged them out a little bit, huh? More spiky to the forearms, there's some pointy fingers, and then the heads. That Spider-Man look, but kind of toned down for military tactical feel. The feet don't match on mine because I replaced Agent Venom's with some combat boots to give them some boot swivel side to side. Also, I think this gun came from somewhere else. The first Agent Venom, maybe? But yeah, like I said originally, same figure, different flavor. Articulation, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck that can give a little up and not much down. Not bad tilt though, then side to side. The shoulder pads are the rubbery ring around the shoulder, so the peg coming out to the arm rotates all the way around with no problem, and then that flexes out of the way of the shoulder hinge. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow goes, all the way up. Swivel at the wrist, trigger finger hand, hinged up and down. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, does some crunch, some arc back, tilt, rotation. Oh, and I forgot this doesn't have anything at the waist. I'm so used to Marvel Legends having a cut, but this doesn't. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, kicks back, kicks out. Swivel at the thigh, hidden by the leg band. Double knee, all the way. Hinge at the ankle, goes back and forward, a little hindered by this piece coming down and around. Front-facing pin for rocker. Maybe because it's complete reuse, they gave Agent Anti-Venom quite a few accessories. Loaded out with two of these pistols, and one of these pistols. Now, I love blue, but I sure would have liked to seen these in this dark gray, both to match the color scheme and reel these up slightly. I know it's cartoon weapons, but there's also some gun effects we've been seeing with Marvel Legends lately. These two blasts, these two smokes, but they're in neon green. Again, we have blue weapons with some kind of, unless Agent Anti-Venom fires some kind of antitoxin, some kind of magic, but those do fit nicely in the barrel. And they're also not shabby in the trigger finger hand with a little push and twist. I'm gonna double that up. This pistol, no matter who it comes with, always goes in the holster. I don't know, I just don't care for it. But that leaves these two pistols, and no more hands, unless we're talking about symbiote tendrils. I thought this may have come from the old Walgreens Agent Venom, where I painted the white red, and it's looking terrible these days, but it's not. It's a different sculpt. Okay, that's cool. Little tendril coming over the shoulder, and then these coming out, and I'm guessing they just thread in. Look at that. Oh, that one does it too. Pushing, twisting. I'm gonna have to track down more guns for these two. But if you want something less shooty, there's these two clawed hands, or he can resort to fisticuffs. Next up, Spider-Man. For the same reason as Agent Anti-Venom. It's the same figure we have, just with some different paints. Here's a close-up of that card, all holography. Woo. And the figure kind of caught me by surprise. I thought this was Renew Your Vows Spider-Man with just some extra paint for the flesh parts showing. But the closer I got, the more I studied, the more I examined, the more I realized that there is a lot of new sculpt to this. It uses the Renew Your Vows basic articulation and musculature, maybe, but then I do believe every body part has been tweaked in some way. Well, okay, this shoulder may be the original. It doesn't have any added sculpt to it as far as I can tell, maybe. But on this arm, on this shoulder, these cuts are actually sculpted in. Same goes for where the glove ends. This is an edge along with these two cuts. This slice into the costume and this down on the leg. In fact, there is some fabric hanging down that's hard to see because it's the blue of the rest of the costume. Same thing on this tear on the right leg. And then even down on the boot, these holes, those are raised. They're not just paint. They even altered the cut out of the torso for the butterfly to be ragged right here. So the flesh tone of the butterfly itself would look like it's, skin coming out of the costume. They did it a little bit on the front right here, but I wish they had done it more to make it even more ragged. But it's not just the battle damage. They added wrinkles to the costume in places, going down the hip where there's no damage to it. So they could have easily reused this, no problem, no changes, but they didn't. Even the wrinkles on the butt that they had, you can see this one's going diagonal, this one's going straight across now, and then there's a diagonal, then another straight across. It's different. Down on the back of the leg, more wrinkles, nothing here, and back and forth. So yes, it is at its heart, at its core, Renew Your Vows, but it ends up being its own Spider-Man. And the more I hold them side by side, the more I realize just how different they are. Look at the abs. The battle damaged Magic the Gathering one, much tighter. I like this traced logo compared to this one. This one's fine, this one's good, but man, yeah, so many differences. Even the head goes a little old school with the smaller eyes, which kind of calls back to the retro card version where there were still pins, and it's like a predecessor to Renew Your Vows, I think. But then looking at these side by side, similar web patterns, at least in the size of Kumir. Up at the head, the retro card is tighter. This one kind of spreads out. While we're up there, yes, this tear is sculpted in to have an edge to it. And then there's actual hair sticking up and out. When I saw the prototype for this, or when it was first revealed, I thought, okay, it's at least a new head. It's good to see that the whole body has been modified to be battle damaged. Going over articulation, there is a dumbbell joint up at the top of the neck, and it looks like they took a cut out of the back. Have they been doing that with more recent Spider-Mans? After a bunch of us started doing that to the stock versions. It still only goes up to about right here, and then not a lot of down. Not terrible tilt, but not as good as it should be on a dumbbell joint because they sink that bottom ball so far down in there. It just doesn't have a lot of room to move. No problem left and right though, Butterfly joint goes back, and I love how much flesh is showing. Again, I wish this was more ragged, or they had painted up and over here to make it look like the whole sleeve's missing. Then it goes forward to there that you can go a little further as you raise the arm. Pin going out to the shoulder rotates around with a hinge to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow all the way. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, hinge at the waist. Together, it goes to there, arcs back, tilt, tilt, rotation. Drop down hips with a ball going out to the leg. And I've been warned about this several times. And yes, when I got it out of the package, it's tight as hell. I didn't pop the leg off or anything, which would be the best. Get in there and kind of sand that ball down a little bit. What I did was just kind of work it in and out, side, side, you know, doing side steps. Just trying to get a little looseness. And 1. And 2. Then I slowly kick the legs forward, and the right leg never seemed to have a problem. The left is still a little bit sticky. You can hear the detent feel of it, but I'm not super worried about it. But leg drops down, then you can kick to about right here. There's back, and there is out. That is better than a lot of, well, Spider-Mans. Swivel at the thigh, double knee, oh! Swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle goes way back, forward, front facing pin for rocker, toe joint. For accessories out of the package, there are 2 fists, then there are 2 thwips, and 2 wall crawling hands. Essentially what we should get with every single Spider-Man ever, because these are going in here now. I love wall crawling hands. There's this web shield in a slightly translucent plastic to give it a web look. I believe we got this with Maximum Spider-Man. And then I think we've seen this spaghetti web line several times. There's kind of a curly Q at one end and a triangle at the other. Then there is a battle damaged head, and it's Parker with some cuts and scrapes and a black eye. And I'll admit, I don't get all the Spider-Mans, so I don't know if this head is reuse with some added stuff on it, but I don't have one that matches this exactly. It's definitely not the happy, freaky, Maximum unmasked head. And it works in the overall scheme of the figure, but it does sit high. It doesn't want to go all the way down. That's why it makes me think that this is reuse from something, and it's not set for this figure. So I will be keeping this head on, because it actually, well, okay, yeah. He's beat, he's bruised, but this little tuft of hair sticking out the side of the masked head, I love that. It does need a little dirtiness though. I'd like to see some blood dripping. I'd like to see a wash here to make that stand out a bit more. What else? Maybe more scrapes inside the cuts of the costume. There's a couple here and there, but not in every one of them. And then yeah, just some definition to those scrapes. It should be dirtier. I mean, he's got the damage, but he hasn't been through the business. I saved MJ Iron Spider for third because she had a lot more obvious new to her. But as we're finding out, there is more new to this wave than I thought. Anyway, she's next. Here is her card up close for those interested. And here's the figure for the rest of you that usually come to my channel. Again, I was gonna pass on this because I have absolutely no clue why Mary Jane is in the Iron Spider armor. But having it in hand now and seeing the shiny red, that gold, the Mary Jane head, that's done really well. I'm not usually one for flowing hair, but there's options, so it makes me like it even more. And I've got a soft spot for this armor because of this design, and I didn't get the last version with the 3 Waldos. So hey, I got it in female form. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Especially since it's the updated pinless double elbows and knees female body. And it is a new torso because the design, the logo, is sculpted on there. These are all raised. Oh, I just realized why her hair is flowing to the side, because of this backpack that is glued to the back. You know, where backpacks go. And when we get to accessories, the Waldos, the hair needed to be over. Okay, yeah, I get it. It took me a minute, but I got there. Unfortunately, the gold on the shoulders, the forearms, and the lower legs is just painted on. We see that a lot with female figures in Marvel Legends. I don't know if it's because there's so many different designs, they can't just put a cut in place for boots or forearm things like they could with Vulcan, but yeah, those designs are painted on. They match up really nicely, and it doesn't really stand out until you go scraping at it. But man, it would have been cool to have those as actual gauntlets and leg covers. There is the shriek feet we've been seeing since this body was introduced, I believe. So I'm guessing those are also her legs and arms on here, on the new torso, new head. I say new head, but it could possibly be the Renew Your Vows Mary Jane, which I put on the animated series just to give it a classic feel. It seems very, very similar with that smirk to it and updated ink jets maybe, but I'm terrible at telling that kind of thing, especially when there's different hair sculpts. You change your hair and it takes me a couple minutes to recognize you. I don't know why my brain just goes automatically to hair, but it seems like the same faces. That's about it. Female form, Iron Spider look, Mary Jane head. And it works. Articulation wise, there is a ball joint with a hinge going down, but as always, when there's long hair in the back, there's not a lot of up. This piece going across the front is soft, so she can look down. Not bad tilt, left, right. Pin going out to the shoulder, rotates around. Notice I moved the hair. That won't be a deal here in a minute. Goes all the way around. Then a hinge goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow all the way. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, not a lot of forward. I don't know if that's because of the added sculpt here is raised up, kind of catches, but then a lot of arc back, tilt, rotation, ball to the hip, kicks forward, back, out, swivel at the thigh, double knee, will it go? Oh yeah. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, front facing pin for rocker. For accessories out of the package, she comes with 2 fists, then she has 2 thwip hands, and an alternate masked head, and that's what I was talking about a minute ago. That's gonna agile her up a bit. I feel like that just completes the look. Having that older Iron Spider would be easier to show that these are reuse from it, but instead of there being 3, there is 4, as it should be. Maybe that's why I passed on those, because I do not care for the 3 Waldo design. It just looks odd. It looks off. You gotta push really, really hard. There is a hinge where it plugs in, but this isn't a hinge. That's faked. It doesn't move. Then there's a hinge here, but not here. So that's another solid piece from this hinge to this hinge. And this one does move. And then they do rotate at these joints, but if you do rotate them, it gets in the way of the hinge. It blocks it. So it doesn't really work that well. All right, not as posable as a Spider-Man. Could use a crunch and some butterflies, but man, I love how dynamic Waldos make a figure. I just love the tentacles. Or in this case, the spider legs. And as tight as those are, I wish the backpack came off. I get it. They're secure on there now, but if you don't want the tentacles on, if you just want her standing in the suit, you got to pull those out again. Oh, she stood up. No problem. Then for Man-Wolf, or Star God if you're nasty, new parts, new paints, new character. Papa John's. Damn it. Well, I say new character. We've had a Marvel Legends Man-Wolf before, but it is so outdated that I'm not even going to count it because it's my video. And here's your Colonel John Jameson card. It's not even Man-Wolf or Star God. Human Werewolf. As far as the figure goes, though, is this an all-new sculpt? I know it's kind of hard to see in the bright white, but the arms and legs have a light fur sculpt to them. There's a pointy sticking out of the back of the forearm that I've never seen before, or I don't remember on any other Marvel Legends figures. Then I thought, well, maybe the scale mail of the torso is reuse from something. And again, maybe it is, but they've added this gem on the front of the chest. And I know that doesn't mean it's not reuse, but they changed it up, so it's newish. The crotch feels Iron Man-ish with these lines running up and down, but then the outside has some rivets and then a line going around and then actually wrinkles on the back. So it's a metal cod piece going back to some cloth. All right, lots of figures also have boot cuffs and some wrinkles up around the ankle, but this is part of the lower leg sculpt. Then the feet has some boot going into a gold guard piece with a werewolf foot sticking out the end of it with the claws on the toes. And again, a bit of fur. Gold gauntlets with the red diamonds running around the top and the lines running around the wrist. Those are a separate piece, but it's glued down. As far as I can tell, I can't just pop it off. I also thought the gold was part of the arm, but no, it is a separate piece. it's a ring around the shoulder peg. That gold matches the strap going around to the quiver on the back where they add more red, that leather texture look. Gold belt with red accents to match. Is that a werewolf head logo on the belt buckle? There are some claws on the fingers too, making those pointy. I wish those were painted. And again, going back down to the feet, those could have used a little bit of color too. There's a gold band around the right bicep that is a separate piece, and hopefully it stays up there as we move it around. I'm usually leery about those, but maybe it'll stay. Then there is the head, and again, some detail lost in the bright whiteness of the plastic, but you have the fur coming out and around, the pointy ears up on top. I do like the eyes being defined. First, the gold of the eyes themselves, and then the shadow around them. I wish there was more wash to the fur parts all over, just to pop that detail. There's also the mouth. And the red line, it's okay, but I wish it wasn't so prominent when the jaw is closed, because it is articulated, and inside it's just red. Got the tongue, got the top of the mouth. I wish this red wasn't here. I get what they're going for, I really do. Could be better. I love the neck joint though. I thought, well, with that fur coming down, it's gonna restrict the movement. But what they did was have a dumbbell joint go all the way up into the head, and this is a cover piece. It just kind of floats in between and gets out of the way for looking down and back and doing some tilt and moving around. I do keep losing the front of it. Like it'll rotate around and I'll think, wait, is that the front? It looks odd. So you got to fiddle with it a bit, bring it back around, but it makes it feel more like one big neck piece. They solved something that I was worried about, and it totally works for, Man-Wolf, everybody's favorite character. Going over articulation, just talked about it. I wonder if that pops off. Of course it does. It's a ball joint. That's how you do a dumbbell joint. You can see the ball right there, and there's plenty of clearance for the rod to move around at the bottom. That kind of movement gives you and then down and tilt. So much tilt. So much better than Spider-Man. And then, of course, left and right. And don't think I forgot about it. There's also an articulated jaw. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates all the way around with a hinge. Oh, see, that damn band already fell off the bicep. Arm goes up to there. Swivel at that bicep. Can I push that up? Can I leave it right there? Okay, yeah, I like it better there. Double elbow comes up to about right there. The gauntlet gets in the way. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge up and down. This is a weapon wielding hand. Crunchticulars in the torso goes that far forward, not a lot back. Then there is a cut at the waist hidden by the belt. Ball at the hip, kicks forward, goes back, kicks, out, better than Mary Jane Iron Spider. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee, not quite, but he's a thicker guy. That is crazy, there's not a boot cut. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories out of the package, he comes with 2 grips. Then there is a right clawing hand and a left fist. But we're gonna leave the grips in because of the weapons. First, there is this bow that we've seen a few times. Maybe Hawkeye, definitely Yondu. I don't know whether John Jameson is left or right, but I'm gonna put this over here as a lefty. Well, I'm guessing that because the quiver is over his left shoulder and the sword is drawn to his left side. So I'm calling Man-Wolf left-handed. There is an arrow that I think has come with all the same characters that came with this bow, but there's not a finger to knock it in, to hold it. Not that he's going to do much damage with that round tip. So I'll probably leave that in the quiver with the rest of these arrows. And at first I thought, wait, what am I doing with these? I'm not sure if we've gotten this before. If we have, I've forgotten it. And at first I thought, wait, how do I put those in? But then I saw these indents. That allows you to fold this in half and put it inside the quiver, down in there. And it's neat that it gives you different heights for the arrows. And I'm just going to take the loose one and stick it down in there somehow. Surely it goes through. How about I do this? Sandwich this inside of that and then put that down in there. That works a lot better. Then finally, there is this sword, which again, I think we saw with Baron Zemo and Taskmaster. Probably someone else, but that's easy enough to either put in his hand to complete the Star God look, or to store away on his hip. Ooh, that looks pretty good. Size-wise, Mary Jane stands at about 6 inches tall. Spider-Man is almost 6 3/8. Star God is slightly over 6.5 to the top of the head. And then Agent Anti-Venom is about 6 3/8. Here's Agent Anti-Venom with the Spider-Man retro-carded Agent Venom, and then the old Walgreens Agent Venom. Spider-Man fits in with other Marvel Legends Spider-Mans like Renew Your Vows and Maximum. Same goes for MJ Iron Spider with the Renew Your Vows head on the cartoon body, and then the Renew Your Vows spinneret. I wish the Werewolf by Night was out so I could compare him to Man-Wolf, but my man thing will have to do. And then, of course, here's John's father, J. Jonah Jameson. So at the end of the day, I ended up liking the whole wave more than I thought I would. Not that I thought any of them was going to be bad. If there was one that I would probably still skip, it would be Mary Jane Iron Spider, because again, I have no clue why she's wearing that. I love Waldo's, so she'll make her way into the display somewhere. But I do not like the extra price of the Magic the Gathering cards. I get it. It's kind of a cross promotion, and people are saying you can take the cards, sell them off, trade them, get a little money back on them, but still, yeah. I'm gonna give my cards to my son. He was wanting them, so it's kind of a dual purpose. He's more into Magic. I get the figures. We both win. But I'm kind of with the community when I see, why do we have to buy this little piece of cardboard in order to get the figure we want? Now, if you're a Magic collector, then that's completely backwards and fandoms. But I can only speak from what I know. And I know toys way more than I know card games. In order from least favorite to most favorite, Mary Jane's on the bottom. And even then, I like her enough with the golds and the reds and the Waldos. Surprisingly, Agent Anti-Venom falls third. I love the design and everything. He's just not as fun as this battle-damaged Spider-Man. There's just a lot more effort than I thought there was. It's a shame that some people's hips are breaking, but I just kind of loosened mine, went on my merry way, and I look forward to customizing this a bit. But my favorite is definitely Man-Wolf or Star God. It's handbook goodness. It's a classic character. Yeah, completely happy with it. So yeah, if you're interested in these, the links are in the description. If not, there's other toys out there, other fish in the sea to grab, because Marvel Legends is just hitting so hot and heavy. Can't keep up. There's still more stuff that I have in boxes that I may not get to. Maybe we'll have a catch-up day like I need to with Star Wars and other Hasbro things that keep... But until then, have fun. Bye!